People say, my congregation is made of people from 20 nations or 30 countries around the world, 50 nationalities. But that doesn't say anything if the culture is still very much just white British culture and everybody else is just assimilating it.
Welcome to the Legacy in Motion podcast, where we equip leaders in immigrant and diaspora churches to build healthy and thriving intergenerational ministries. I'm your host, Samuel Teka, a local church pastor in Austin, the Diaspora Network Next Gen Catalyst, and a second-generation Ethiopian Canadian. In this episode, I sit down with Dr. Harvey Kwiyani, a theologian, a missiologist, author, and educator originally from Malawi with extensive experience serving and leading in multicultural contexts. Together, we discuss intercultural dynamics in the local church and how churches can navigate cultural differences while pursuing unity in Christ. We hope this conversation encourages and equips you. Enjoy my conversation with Dr. Harvey Kwiyani. Let me ask you this first question. So when you hear that phrase or that sentence, fostering intercultural church dynamics, what comes to your mind? What exactly do you hear? It's a huge phrase with multiple big words. And I want to make sure that we are communicating to whoever is going to be listening to this, what these words mean and what do they mean in context, especially when it comes to the church.
Strikes me in two different directions. On the one hand, I take it that to have a good church with cultural diversity, where people are engaging in intercultural engagements, connections, ever so often, there's need for some intentionality. Those things don't just happen. They require somebody to sort of create the space where they can happen, to encourage
facilitate
the
that.
dynamics. Yes.
Mm.
So there is something in me that understands, yes, we need to be intentional, especially among leaders in congregations. We need to be intentional about creating a space, creating an atmosphere where intercultural living together can happen, right? Intercultural worship together can happen. So there is that, and then there's the notion of fostering that, sort of making it happen. When I hear the word foster, I think of somebody who has the power to make something happen. I like the fact that we can name the power element of how this works out, that somebody has power. And the question for me then becomes, what do we do with that power? How do we use that power to create these spaces? How do we use that power to facilitate situations, spaces where people of different cultures can worship together?
Have you ever seen an example where an organization or church has exemplified this in a way that is healthy and also intercultural and are able to actually work out those dynamics?
I've seen it in a few places. And I think in all the places I've seen it, power is still very much the key thing at the center of everything. So how we do power interculturally determines whether we can belong together, whether we can worship together. I'll give you a very good example. When I studied in Minnesota, I worked with a congregation that was surprisingly multicultural, as in they were more multicultural than I expected anybody to be. I did not tell them I'm coming in to look at how multicultural they were. I went to them to listen to their theological conversations around their cultures. And to do that, I needed to do several focus groups in the congregation. I needed to come show up at an event. I needed to attend their church service to see how they do life together. Right? Every focus group, without being told, without being asked, every focus group was multicultural. Every event I attended, everything, it was like it's natural for them to think and work intentionally to bring different cultures together. It's almost like they were saying, if we don't do this, we can't move forward. We need to have our friends from our cultures in the conversation, in the room. That's the only way we can move forward. I was challenged.
You were challenged? Why were you challenged?
I did not expect them to do that.
What did you expect for them to do?
People talk about multicultural congregations, and many of the congregations that say we are multicultural, when you go beyond the website and the public facing parts of their identity, you realize that actually it's one culture that's shaping everything, and everybody else is just a visitor. It's just a guest into this one culture. This congregation in St. Paul, Minnesota was different. That its culture was multiculturalism. Right? Now, as I said, I was blown away. I went to my PhD supervisor and said, I think I found something. I can't understand it. He came with me at one event, and he came to me afterwards and said, I did not expect that either. Something is happening here. So I said, okay, let me sit down with the pastor. And I did sit down with him maybe 3 times and said, can you tell me how you got to this place? And he said, for me, the journey started in 1991. It had been 20 years. This was 2011.
In the making.
Yes.
Wow.
And he said it started in 1991 when I was living in Chicago, and God told me to come to St. Paul. And when I got here, started leading the church, by mid-90s, I started doing intentional series on this church being a house of prayer for all nations, and that everybody in this church is a foreigner. And therefore, we were required to identify with foreigners. And practically, we said we will be an asylum host congregation. So we will tell the government to send us asylum seekers, right? And then he told the story of how when they received their first asylum seekers from Haiti, the congregation came to welcome this family at Minneapolis St. Paul Airport. And he says, as the family came out, the congregation started worshiping. People were on their knees in the airport because this had fulfilled something that they had been on their minds for a long time. He said this was around 1998. By the time I came to interview him and to observe a congregation, 2010, 2011, they had been on this journey for a long time. This belief that we are a house of prayer for all nations, and therefore all of us are displaced migrants, foreigners, others. Nobody can say I'm more at home here than anybody else, right? that had become baked into their identity. So when I visited them, when I worked with them in 2010, 2011, the congregation was 30% Black, 35% Latino, and 35% white American.
Wow. And it's
But
almost equal over the board.
yes.
Wow. Wow.
And everything that I asked for represented that distribution.
Thank
But
you.
it had
Thank you.
been a journey.
Right. Thank you for sharing that, because it's one thing to talk about it in theory. It's another thing to talk about it in reality. And I'm glad that you shared that story, because there actually are churches that are fostering
Mhm.
intercultural dynamics. And there's so many things that come to my mind when you shared that story. One, it doesn't happen over a day, it happens over time. Two is that the intentionality, even
Mhm.
at the cost of people's comfortability, um, as you could see in the story, was prioritized. And then third is this word that you brought up earlier that I caught on to, which is the how power is used.
Yes.
And it's you see that whoever the leader of that church is,
Mhm.
who has
Mhm.
authority and power, used it
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
cultivate a dynamic within culture, within being multicultural church. I want to go into that idea of power. I want to talk about that, because does it start from the top down?
Mhm.
Is it facilitated or cultivated from the bottom up? What does that power look like?
Going back to the congregation in St. Paul, what the pastor saw and what the pastor really used was a theology. We are a house of prayer for all nations. All of us are migrants, all of us are foreigners. Theology that dissenters, people who think they should be at the center, right? So everybody's dissented, which is difficult. Even the host is dissented, right? Because of course the host would, generally speaking, be at the center, hosting everybody. But what this congregation in in St. Paul did was, by believing that we are a house of prayer for all nations and that we are all here as migrants, right? And as I said, 35% are white American, right? But they were able to hold on to this theology that said, even us, right, are people on the move, right? Therefore, everybody's dissented. Everybody loses power in one way or another, right? And then what you create allows all of you to share the power that you have sort of equally. Now, that is difficult to do from below. Conversations can start from below. People at the margins can ask for space at the table. But really, it's the people who make decisions, the people who have authority to create spaces, to make the connections necessary, that make a difference, right? And so, yes, this. So this is why you see that I'm in the UK. Here in the UK, uh, our congregations are a little more multicultural than the US. We have more multicultural congregations than you have in the US. And that's partly because our geography allows us to mix. It's not as segregated as American geography. That's
Right.
baked into the economics of the country, right? So we do mix a little more. That works for us. But when you look at congregations that say they are multicultural here in the UK, you find that actually almost all leaders of these congregations are white British. And really, actually, most of the leadership teams, you look at the website, you find that there is probably one or two token black leaders, but everybody else is white. It's the struggle of letting go of power so that we can all belong together that leads us to that place. All right.
That's really good.
And so really, and I mean, I tell them here in the UK that people say, my congregation is made of people from 20 nations or 30 countries around the world, 50 nationalities. But that doesn't say anything if the culture is still very much just white British culture and everybody else is just assimilating it.
Sorry, can we stop there? I just, so you could pose and even project an image of intercultural ministry. But if you look deeper into it, there is only one culture that is
everybody else is assimilating to.
Wow. That's really good.
Right. And so that's not even multicultural, that's not intercultural, it's just a label that we stick on things.
That's really good. So what you are saying is that power has to be relinquished.
Yes. Power has to be relinquished. And maybe let me find a better way of putting this. Those who have power to create these spaces, those who have power have to be able to let go of that power so that those who don't have power can be empowered. And then together they can find ways to share that power.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. What is your ethos when it comes to fostering an intercultural church?
Clearly, in the Bible, we find that diversity is, especially in the New Testament, especially in the Gospels and Acts, diversity is a key mark of this new thing that God is doing. All right? That it is intentional that the Spirit comes on a day when the world is in Jerusalem. And that when the Spirit comes, people will speak in languages from around the world. Different communities, different tribes, different nationalities are represented at the table. And they're not silent, they are heard. Right? Critical. Those tongues could have been just one language. But it's the diversity of the kingdom. I'm talking a lot about decolonizing nation.
Yeah. Yes.
Which
From
is
your book.
yes. Which is trying to deconstruct mission done in imperial ethos. And one of the arguments I make in the book is that actually the kingdom of God is built on diversity. The body of Christ needs all its members to contribute. Ephesians 4:16. The body is kept together by that which every member supplies. There has to be a mutual exchange between the members of the body. That's why Paul would say in 1 Corinthians 12, one part of the body cannot say to another part of the body, I don't need you. The body needs everybody, and it needs everybody to contribute. So everybody in the body brings something. And the body is one. Whether you are in Fiji or you're in Chile or you are in North Korea or in Russia, it's one body. And this one body needs all of us to contribute. Diversity, right? This is critical. Empires don't really need us to be diverse. Empires need us to be uniform. Empires love uniformity. You have to think the same. It has to be able to predict what you're going to do. Right? So, in the kingdom of God, diversity is a value, is a gift that God has given us. I joke here in the UK that even in the world of biological sciences, we know that species need variety to keep on existing. Right? That we have to keep mixing the gene pool so that species can continue.
That's good.
That's why you don't marry your sister or your brother.
That's good.
No matter how good they look, right?
Right.
It's diversifying the gene pool. Right? Homogeneity is slow death. If you don't embrace diversity, you are slowly working yourself out of existence. And I do think that this is the same with our churches, with our faith life. That if we don't really embrace the fact that at this point in time, God has given us the gifts from the whole body around the world, and we continue to do our things in our small corners, there's no future. Diversity keeps us going forward. This is important. But in my book, Multicultural Kingdom, I start the book with a story of my community in Malawi. My family has been Christian for 5 generations now. One of my great grandfathers was one of the first converts of the missionaries in Malawi, and Christianity has been in the family. The area around my home, we're Christians, but we're Christians of different tribes and different languages, right? And what that means is when people get together in my father's church in southern Malawi, there will be worship in different languages. Right? You don't know what language that song is gonna come in, and that song is gonna come in, and that song is gonna come in, right? To a point that, as my mother says, I quote her in Multicultural Kingdom in the introduction, as she says, this is the only place where all these people can come together with their languages and their cultures as a gift for everybody else.
Wow, that's so good. It's beautiful.
That without the church fostering this, if I can use your word, these people will be doing things in their own different spaces, and they won't really meet and worship together. So it's this space that we call church. When they come together, different languages, different cultural heritages, coming from different parts of the country, but come together, seeing one another as equals, seeing their gifts and receiving their gifts that God has given others for them, that this community can really say, we sort of tend to look at ourselves as a small part of that which we see in the Revelations, right? That we stand together before the throne. It's not going to be an English corner there and an Ojibwe corner on that end of the country and a Navajo corner that side and a Zulu corner that side. It's all together, right? And so it's in those spaces, probably plus a few more, that I find my grounding for articulating this that I believe God has made possible for us here today.
Yeah, that's good. I have so many questions running through my mind right now. But we are short on time. The question I would like to ask you is, our audience are leaders, both first generation and second generation. They are in immigrant churches, and they are doing intergenerational ministry. Okay. And they are only of one ethnicity, maybe, or maybe they may be in a multi-ethnic church, multicultural church. But for the majority, it's one ethnicity, one language, one people group. Now, let's say there are people in that church that desire to cultivate or to foster intercultural church. What are the obstacles that they should be aware of? It may be 1, 2, 3, maybe there's more. And then what are the solutions and the remedies to those obstacles when it comes to cultivating an intercultural church?
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get it, I think. First thing, culture shapes everything we do as churches. People tend to think of culture as something that happens outside churches. But our churches are shaped by culture. There's no culture-free congregation. Right? Now, what do you do when the culture of the congregation doesn't really line up with the cultures of the people who are part of that congregation?
Right.
Right. What do we do when my Malawian congregation receives a Zimbabwean visitor?
Right. Yes.
Right. So there is that. We need to know that we are cultural communities. That when people come visit us, they are encountering a new culture, so to speak.
Yes.
Even though it may be right in their communities.
Right.
Getting into our churches, they are encountering a new culture. How do we help them process that? 2, how do we respond to the culture that has shaped them where they're coming from? They bring unique cultural gifts into the community that only they can bring. All right? So, as we lead, we need to anticipate that. But on the other hand, it's also making it possible that these people who are coming in understand that they bring gifts that only they can bring. Right? I don't want to get to a space meet Malawians bringing Malawian gifts that are not Malawian. Right? Let them be authentic.
Right.
If if we can be truly authentic, what are we bringing to the table? So let authenticity be part of what we bring to the table. Right? When I meet you, I want to meet an Ethiopian, probably born and bred in Canada. You bring something that only you can bring to the table, right? I don't want to meet an Ethiopian born and bred in Canada who doesn't even understand his own culture.
That's good. That's good.
Right?
Right.
And so creating space where we can help people be authentic. God has given everybody a gift. That's why I say the health of the body depends on the mutual exchange between its members. And if the members can't really exchange the gifts God has given them, the body suffers. And it's not just when one part of the body suffers, the whole body suffers. Right? So I want an authentic Zimbabwean contribution to the body. And we need an authentic Malawian contribution to the body. And we need an authentic Colombian contribution to the body. We need an authentic Oromo contribution to the body. We need an authentic, everything has to be authentic. If we do that, we make it possible that the people who make our congregations will be strong enough in their own identities to bring that which God has given them to the body.
Very good.
A lot of us in our multicultural church spaces, we like the visibility of different ethnicities worshiping together as long as their culture is not changed. We sing the same song, we sing every day, no matter who visits us. We preach the same way we preach every Sunday. It doesn't matter who is in or who is out. Right? And so, yes, maybe there's need to rethink how we do these things. How does the presence of an other among us change us? It's not about expecting them to change so they can fit in. There has to be a change on both sides. And that change has to facilitate the giving and receiving of gifts that God has given us for one another.
That's good. That's good. And in order to give and receive, you have to accept and relinquish. Accept and relinquish.
Yes.
That's
you
so good.
You come with one hand open to receive and another hand bearing your gift. Always, always, always. One hand holds your gift, one hand is receiving gifts. And this is critical for cultures, especially Western cultures, that don't know how to receive from people they consider lower than them.
There's already a view.
Yes. We give,
perception.
We help, we give to charity, we do all these things. We don't receive.
Wow.
Right? And so the challenge is you're not self-contained. You don't have everything you need. God hasn't given you everything you need. And that is by design. That's God's plan. So that you can need others.
Right. Yeah, that's good. That's definitely given me food for thought. Thank you, Harvey, for your time. God bless you. I know it's getting late for you, so I want to respect your time.
That's all right.
I hope I've been helpful. I appreciate you. Oh, he's so helpful, tremendously. The cohort is going to get a lot from this, for sure. And for anyone else who hears it. Thank you.
Thank you.